Audio rolling.
Yeah.
Picked up the lingo.
Living the dream. You should be running those already.
Do you want me on the next one? Can I go and have some lunch as well?
Yeah, thanks. Right, Cal, we've just had two awesome songs from you.
Thank you.
We are recording this in the past, as is the magic of technology, but when this comes out, both of those songs people will be able to listen to.
Yeah.
But what we want to focus on is songwriting.
Yeah.
Grizzly Sounds tries to help songwriters, musicians. So, taking either of those songs we've heard today, how did you go from going, I've got this idea, whether it's a melody, a lyric, and how did it become the song?
So the first song, Wide-Eyed Blind, was I actually had a session with someone. So I do a lot of songwriting with other people, whether it be for me or for other artists, and got to do some cool stuff. But I actually went and worked with a guy called Mike, who's in a band called Clean Cut Kids.
Yeah, cool.
And I'd never met him, but I was a fan of the music and went up to Liverpool to do some writing, and yeah, we basically just had this idea for a track like straight away. Yeah, it was kind of one of those, it was a bit of a hard one in terms of giving advice or anything on that one, because it was one of those that we just kind of both sat with the guitar, and he actually had an idea for the groove, and then I was like, oh, what if the bass line did this? And it was a really straightforward, easy session. So that one was literally, we just were recording it as we were writing it, which I find is what I do all the time.
Okay.
Like, I never, like, I'd say if I was to write 100 songs, 99 times I'd record as I was writing. Okay. So I never like go and sit, play the guitar and go, right, I had this idea. I normally will be like, okay,
let's do this.
Yeah. So like a lot of the time I won't necessarily be like, I've had an idea, like build a song and then go and record it. A lot of the time I will be like, oh, I'll sit down with the laptop or whoever I'm working with and we will have an idea to record as we're going. So with that song, that was that really. So we literally got a demo down in like 4 hours, and that basically became the song that ended up getting released. Like we re-recorded some stuff for it, but so that one was really straightforward. And the second one, Solid Gold, was kind of more of a bit different. I actually had there's like the guitar from the actual recording. We were playing live and we were in that sound check, and I had the idea. So I took that, and then a guy I worked a lot with, Nick Atkinson, and Ed Holloway, were like two amazing songwriters who are killing it at the minute. I just took the idea to them and we kind of rolled with it from that. So like a lot of the time I'll like have an idea in guitar riff, but it'll never be, I kind of like just going in with a fresh idea, because I find a lot of the time if I was going to a session and the guy was like, say we're writing for me, it's like, I've had this whole idea, I feel a bit like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's yours, I guess, and I kind of like the idea of building it up from the ground, but I'm always open to ideas. I'm never like, no, we're not using this because that was not my idea. Like, I think that's the beauty of songwriting. I guess something I kind of struggled with lockdown, I really realised that like I do a lot of writing by myself, and I've done a lot of sessions for people on Zoom, but part of what I love about songwriting is being in a room with other people.
Social element.
Yeah, just the social element and chatting, and then eventually you roll into it and it become a session. So I think that's one thing I've really missed with the whole lockdown. It's just being in a room with people to write. And I think that there's kind of this weird like stigma, like, oh, you write with other people, you don't write your own stuff, and it's like, it's just nonsense. Just like, if you're creating music, do it with however many people you want, whoever you want. Like, there's this real weird thing where people get like all
snobby.
Yeah, I'm like, why? Like, it's effectively a team sport. Like, there's no harm in working with other people, and I'd much rather be in a room with people, not because I don't feel like I couldn't write by myself, but just because it's more fun.
Was there any focusing on kind of the newer songwriters, the people that have the talent, maybe have the voice, the guitar playing skill, whatever, they know they want to write my songs, but they're struggling with the actual songwriting, but getting ideas into a song? Is there anything, whether it was at the start or even something recently, that you found that just really helped you, take whatever that idea is, whether it's melody, whether it's a riff, whether it's a lyric, and build it? One of the last chats we were just having with Chloe, she said, like, there was this mind map idea, which was literally put a word and then write lyrics off of a mind map. Have you ever found yourself doing anything like that?
Yeah, I actually had a session with a guy, an artist called Tom Rosenthal, and we had this like random session where, like, instead of starting with the guitar, we actually sat with like a bunch of books, and we like find the best. It was a poem, like we found like poetry books and all sorts. But like, pick the best title, and we'll just write something around that. So like, there's a load like, and at the start I was a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit weird, but we ended up writing something like 2 hours, and it was so like, don't be scared of. I think. Yeah, for me personally, like, it's never like I've got to write about this, or I need to write about this, or it's got to be personally like I'll listen I'll listen to like on my way to sessions when I'm driving to London, but I'll listen to podcasts about serial killers, and it's like if I find something to like, yeah, why not? Like, I don't know. I think broaden your horizon basically. Because like a lot of people, like it's great to sit down before a session and maybe like listen to other music and stuff, but don't be scared to just don't feel like you have to take everything from a personal perspective. For me anyway, like I kind of like just picking stuff to write about.
Cool. Well, just subtly moving away from the songwriting, but still on the kind of helping people kind of vibe. Acknowledging we had some exciting news off camera which we're going to talk about, which is your future, your near future. But just for now, like acknowledging, you've had a bunch of incredible career musician moments over the past decade or so. What, if you could go, it's cliche as hell, but we're going with it because I do think this could genuinely be helpful. If there was one thing you could go back and tell, let's say, 19-year-old you, so not the start, but like, still funny feet, still making mistakes like we all are at 19, is there, not necessarily don't speak to that guy, but something broader that really helps you, like keep your receipts or like sign those contracts with your mum or whatever it is.
I think my biggest one is maybe like have a pair of balls.
That's true.
No, because like I think going in at 19, I was meeting some crazy people and going to work with some crazy people, and I always maybe felt like they were right because they'd been in the industry. And like I'm not saying don't take advice from people because that'd be stupid, but there's times where I look back and I think I wish I'd have maybe said, but no, let's not do that, or no, you're not necessarily right because of, like kind of just I had situations where people maybe coming in rooms and interfering with stuff that they shouldn't maybe have been there, but I didn't stand up to it because I was like, well, they've been in music for twice as long as me. So I think just don't be scared to voice your opinion is a big one. Just really that's a big one for me. I wish I'd have done a bit more.
Was there anything that helped you with that? Was there a book? Did you go to a talk? Was it just you got so sick of people like pissing you off that you had to do it?
Yeah, I think I just got so sick of it, and like that's not great advice to anyone. But I think if I could just tell someone, just don't be scared to say like, even if you're writing with someone, like I think that's something I always found was like maybe I'd be working with someone, I'd be too scared to maybe say that doesn't sound great or whatever because they've had like when I was in LA I was working with people that were having like Billboard #1s and it was like it was great, but I didn't really take loads from it because maybe I sat back and was like, well, whereas it might have worked out better if I'd said, well actually no, and don't be scared to say no. I think it's a big thing. But I guess just generally I think I was fortunate that I kind of was looked after early in terms of contracts and stuff, but just be careful I think what you get into and don't just like 16-year-old me I'd say would have signed anything like someone handed me a blank piece of paper and be like this means you can do music. But like luckily I was very fortunate and got like lawyers and stuff very early, but just be careful I think. Don't always I think this is something I often say to people, is like don't just jump into something because it sounds good. Like for example, I know people now that are like purposely not choosing to sign to major record deals. And like if you said to a lot of people, there's a major record deal, they'd get a yes. Whereas like now it's, I think with the way Spotify and Apple Music and everything works, like, you don't need to jump into it. So just be careful, I think.
And if it's right for you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think 16-year-old me would have done that, like if I had not had people around me.
Was there any particular resource, and I'm using that as quite a broad word, that helped you like work out this stuff? And I promise this isn't trying to get a cheeky plug for like music or Grizzly or anything, but like genuinely was there like a book that a lot of people talk about this book called, I think it's literally called How to Make a Music Industry. It's by some lawyer. It's like 1,000 pages long. And a lot of people we've spoken to have said that was really useful, probably because it's so long it covers everything in it. But was there anything where you're like, a resource of a YouTube channel that always shit things, or a podcast you listen to on your drives that really helps?
Yeah, I think a mixture really. I think early doors, like for me being in Nottingham was massive because it meant there was so many resources to tap into, like I said, with music and Radio Nottingham and stuff. It feels like in Nottingham you've got a really good support network if you want it. Like Dean Jackson was like early doors, talking to him and just getting advice was really helpful. So I think just being in Nottingham without some cliches was a really helpful way to do it. So, I feel a little bit for people who are maybe from like smaller towns or where, there's so many venues in Nottingham. So I think like a lot of my learning, and still to this day, like I still learn from it, is just going to gigs and like whether it be literally at the Rock City or the Arena or Bodega, it doesn't matter. Like just go and learn because I find it so important. And like I said, I still do that now. Like still when I go to a gig, like I hate that I do it, but I'm often thinking like, what can I take from this? And that's normally why I have a drink, so I just stop doing that and I enjoy the gig. But a lot of the time I do go and I think, I don't want everyone to go to gigs and think, business.
Yeah.
But just go and learn. Like think, I'm not necessarily I do want to do that, but I wouldn't do that live.
Yeah.
That didn't work. And like, you know, like often I'll go to a gig and I'll be really like conscious of set lists and when things felt flat or when things really like kicked off, and I'll be like, okay, that's a good thing to take away for a set list. It's like, don't do a slow song there, you know, don't open with that song. Yeah. So that's, like I said, I still do that. So I think that was a big help for me, and I think, like I said, I was very fortunate that I kind of was writing with a lot of people. I was in London from a very early age, so I was just taking advice from everyone. Like, you know, I've worked with a couple of artists who had major record deals who were like, had successful careers maybe like from like 2005 for 5 or 6 years. So it's kind of just take advice from people, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's a lot about the past, a bit on the present. We found out off camera. So we were actually joking, not even just off camera before you even got here, we were joking about album number 2 and whether or not we were going to get any exciting insight. This interview is going to come out at the end of November, probably, beginning of December.
Yeah.
So
album 2 is announced.
Finally happening.
Yeah. Date? I should know. April,
you should.
April, I think.
Well, I'll just have to go to your social media to find out.
social media to find out. I can't remember where I saw. So album 2.
Sweet.
6 years later.
Yeah, 2014 is the first time around.
Was it?
England, pretty sure.
I don't know.
Pretty sure June 2014.
So it's 7 years. Well, however long, it's a long time. It's been. So that's really exciting. Kind of, you know, it's so ironic. Like I was always like, when album 1 came out, I was always the guy that was like, I don't want to be the person. It takes ages to make the second record, and I've like been the like just stupidly long. But I kind of wanted to make sure what I did it because I enjoyed it. I think it had been very easy for me to just release a record, maybe like 2015, probably 2016, and just be like, here's album 2. Oh look, but I never been. I was like, I know you've got to be clever in music, but I never wanted to release music that I didn't want to release. Like, I've always been super precious about that kind of, you know, a lot of songs kind of get past you and they're like, sing this, and I've always just been like, if it's not my creation or I don't feel part of it, then I would never want to release it. So, yeah, it took maybe, it's taken a while, but I'm glad, it's all done and ready to go, I guess. Okay,
I'm going to actually pick 3 things from it, and this will hopefully give people a good like preset to it. And we'll go through it one by one. So first, what song means the most to you? Take that down whichever road you want to take it.
I think probably there's a couple.
Okay, I like have 2.
So there's a song called Soft Landing which I wrote with Rob Milton.
Oh, awesome.
But we wrote it like 5 years ago maybe. But I was just like, we both always loved it, and I was like, I promise I'm going to use it. Like, don't ask anyone else. I want to really love this song. And it's kind of just summed up the headspace I was in, I guess. A bit like post-album 1, where to now, what's going on, and it kind of sums that up perfectly. So I think personally, I'd say that's probably the one that means the most, I'd say.
Amazing. Okay, so if that's what means the most, what are you most excited, COVID allowing, to play live?
I'd say, it's really tough. Maybe Love This Way, it's just got a guitar solo in it.
It's great. Almost sounds like a saxophone.
Yeah, I was like, we put it in as a joke. We were like, let's just put a Bruno Mars style guitar solo in, and then we were like, you know what, let's just keep it. Because why not? We like it, and I think that's one thing. Kind of going back to what we were saying earlier, is like 19-year-old me would have been really conscious about that and been like, I need to take that out. I've kind of been like, you know what, I like it, so let's go in this.
Do it. Alright, final question. Let's pretend someone's been like a musical hermit for 7 years. They loved your first album, but they've like got full social media as well for 7 years. They're back, their album's out. What's the one song they should listen to that's the most Saint Raymond?
I think I've been a 7-year hermit, to be fair. Sounds like me.
What's the song title?
Which songs do they listen to?
Yeah, what song, acknowledging there are some songs that have been from the best albums, like the Rob Milton one. Which song most represents where you are, Saint Raymond in 2020?
I'd say again between 2, I'm going to do that, but I think Right Way Around kind of epitomises Saint Raymond now in terms of, it still feels like the first record, but I'm not 18 and
mature.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I think probably that, and then a song called Amsterdam, which I think, it kind of feels like a nice balance of growing up me, but also like just writing music that I enjoy.
Awesome. Sweet. I'm really happy with that. You guys happy with that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Audio wasn't rolling.
You almost had a bit there. Almost broken.
I was joking.
There we go. Can you promise to come back to do a full band set?
Oh, he's doing it on camera to you. Look at that.
I mean, get the guys up.
There you go. Just petition the musicians. Happy? I thought it was a really good chat. Awesome. Let's cut there, guys, please.
Sweet.
It's a good chat.